Liberty across realms. Epigraph. The paradox of liberty. To be free, we must first submit ourselves to the constraints of law. James Madison. Dialogue begins. George Washington. Good day, Jon Snow. I am George Washington, the first President of the United States. You are a commander of the Night's Watch, I believe, Jon Snow. Indeed, I am Jon Snow. Lord Commander was my title. And you, Washington? As I said, I am the first President of the United States. Our nations and our leadership styles may differ, but we both share a responsibility to lead with wisdom and honor. Snow. Honor is not a word that means much in the world beyond the wall. But leadership, that's something I can appreciate. What do you mean by liberty, Washington? Liberty, my friend, is the ability for individuals to determine their own course without undue interference from others. It is essential for the flourishing of any society. Snow. And how do you ensure this liberty in your realm? With laws and constitutions? Snow. But doesn't this very protection create dependence on the government? Wouldn't those who cannot fend for themselves be more willing to obey? Washington. It is a delicate balance, Snow. We strive for a society where individuals have the freedom to pursue their dreams and aspirations, while also recognizing the need for unity and collective progress. Snow. Your realm sounds quite different from ours. In my world, survival is often more important than freedom. Washington. It is unfortunate that such sacrifices must be made in times of strife. Yet we cannot allow fear to dictate our actions or shape our destiny. We must always strive for a brighter tomorrow, even when the darkness seems all-consuming. Snow. You speak wisdom, President Washington. I will take your words to heart as I navigate my own path in this world. Washington. May you find the strength and determination to overcome any obstacles that stand in your way, Jon Snow. Our destinies are intertwined, whether we recognize it or not. Washington. Our republic is founded upon principles that seek to protect the rights of all citizens, regardless of their social standing. However, striking a balance between this ideal and reality remains an ongoing challenge in any society. Snow? So you believe that all men are created equal in your society? That every individual has inherent worth and value? Washington. We strive for that ideal, Jon Snow. While we may not have achieved it completely, we continue to work towards a more just and equitable society. Snow. And yet you wage war against nations whose practices and beliefs differ from yours. How can you claim to represent liberty while suppressing other cultures? Washington. We fight for our survival and the freedom of our people. Our actions are guided by what we believe is right. We do not seek to impose our ways upon others, but rather protect ourselves from those who would threaten us. Snow. But isn't this a contradiction? How can you claim to represent liberty when your very existence relies on suppressing other cultures? Washington. Our struggle is for survival and self-preservation. We must defend our way of life if we are to maintain the liberties that we hold dear. Snow. A hard truth indeed, but I fear you have not yet answered my question fully. How can you reconcile your claim to liberty with your actions against other cultures? Washington. It is a complex issue, Jon Snow. We must strike a balance between protecting our own freedom and respecting the freedoms of others. This requires constant vigilance and negotiation, but it is essential if we are to uphold the principles upon which our nation was founded. Snow. You speak of your nation's founding principles as if they are unassailable truths. But what happens when those principles no longer serve their intended purpose? How do you adapt to changing circumstances while remaining true to your values? Washington. Our Constitution is a living document, open to interpretation and amendment as necessary. We must always be prepared to evolve in order to preserve the ideals upon which our nation was built. Snow. And what of those who refuse to adapt? Those who cling to outdated beliefs and practices? How do you handle dissenters within your society? Washington. Our government respects the rights of all citizens, including those with differing opinions. We strive for a society where everyone can express their views without fear of retribution. Snow. Your words are noble, but I wonder if they truly reflect the reality of your situation. How do you ensure that every voice is heard and respected in your realm? Washington. It is our duty as leaders to create an environment where all voices can be heard and considered. This requires active engagement with citizens from all walks of life and a willingness to compromise when necessary. Snow. I see. So you believe that every individual should have equal opportunity for expression, regardless of their social standing. Washington. In our society, we strive for this ideal. However, achieving true equality remains a challenge that we must continually work towards. Snow. And what about those who wish to exploit these opportunities for personal gain? How do you prevent corruption and ensure fairness in your system? Washington. We have established mechanisms to detect and punish corruption. Moreover, our citizens are encouraged to report any instances of wrongdoing without fear of retribution. Snow, a commendable effort indeed. But how do you reconcile the need for law and order with the desire for individual freedom? Washington. We must strike a balance between the two. Our citizens should be free to pursue their own interests as long as they do not harm others or undermine the principles upon which our nation was founded. Snow. And what of those who seek to challenge your authority? How do you handle dissenters within your society? Washington. We respect the rights of all citizens, including those with differing opinions. Our government actively encourages debate and discussion on important issues. However, when necessary, we will take decisive action to protect our nation's interests. Washington. In our society, we strive for this ideal. However, achieving true equality remains a challenge that we must continually work towards. Snow. And what about those who wish to exploit these opportunities? How do you prevent corruption and ensure fairness in your system? Washington. We have established mechanisms to detect and punish corruption. Moreover, our citizens are encouraged to report any instances of wrongdoing without fear of retribution. Snow. A commendable effort indeed. But how do you reconcile the need for law and order with the desire for individual freedom? Washington. We must strike a balance between the two. Our citizens should be free to pursue their own interests as long as they do not harm others or undermine the principles upon which our nation was founded. The first meeting between George Washington, the esteemed founder and first president of the United States, and John Snow, an intrepid leader from the frigid lands beyond the wall, was a rendezvous that would alter both their lives indefinitely. As daybreak dawned in the east, Washington stirred from his slumber, attired himself in a simple yet graceful ensemble befitting a president, and steered onto his balcony to welcome the morning's embrace. He scanned his surroundings, the vibrant cityscape teeming with life, the cacophony of industry resonating through the airwaves, and the inhabitants engaged in their daily routines. This was his dominion, a realm of possibility and freedom, where each voice held an equal say in shaping its future course. As Washington stood there, taking it all in, he heard the distant roar of hooves approaching from afar. His interest piqued. He turned to discern who was riding so early in the morning. To his astonishment, he beheld a contingent of men on horseback, led by an individual whose appearance bore no resemblance to any he had previously encountered. The man donned attire made from animal hides and adorned with intricate motifs that were foreign to Washington's comprehension. He carried a longsword at his side and bore an icy blue gaze that seemed to delve straight into the president's soul. "Who are you?" Washington inquired, stepping forward to greet the stranger. "What business do you have in this city?" The man dismounted from his steed and made his way towards Washington with measured steps. His voice was deep and gruff, emanating like a growl echoing from within a cave's depths. "My name is John Snow," he declared, extending his hand for a shake. "I hail from the frozen northlands lying beyond your wall." Snow scanned the cityscape, taking in the sights and sounds, but amidst the clamor and bustle, he couldn't shake the feeling that something else. He hesitated before responding, his mind racing with concerns about this stranger and what he might represent. He steadied himself and forced out a measured tone. "Welcome to our city," he said warily. "What brings you here?" "I've heard of a place where every voice matters," Snow replied wistfully. "I wanted to see this land for myself." Snow scanned the cityscape, taking in the sights and sounds. But, amidst the clamor and bustle, he couldn't shake the feeling that something else, some unseen energy or vibe, was coursing through the streets. He hesitated before responding, his mind racing with concerns about this stranger and what he might represent. He steadied himself and forced out a measured tone. "Welcome to our city," he said warily. "What brings you here?" "I've heard of a place where every voice matters," Snow replied wistfully. "I wanted to see this land for myself." Washington hesitated, his heart pounding as he reluctantly took the proffered hand. The air seemed to grow colder, suffocating, until at last, he forced out a measured tone. "Welcome to our city," he said warily. "I wanted to see this land for myself." As they continued their conversation, Washington found himself captivated by Snow's stories, tales of battles and disputes beyond the wall, narrative bravery and sacrifice that bore striking resemblance to his own experiences. He began to discern similarities between their two worlds, recognizing that both were grappling with comparable challenges in pursuit of tranquility and prosperity amidst numerous obstacles they faced along the way. But there was one thing Washington couldn't comprehend. How could a man from such an unyielding and ruthless environment survive in his world? Surely it must be challenging for someone accustomed to enduring cold and darkness of the Northlands to acclimatize to the fast-paced, ever-evolving milieu of his city. How do you manage? Washington inquired at last, after intently listening as Snow regaled him with tales of his voyage south. The transition from your world into ours must have been incredibly difficult. Snow pondered this query for a moment before replying. Adaptability is the key, he said succinctly. You need to be willing to change and learn from those around you if you want to thrive in any environment, regardless of how different it may seem at first. Washington nodded contemplatively at these words, recognizing that there was truth in them, not just for himself but also for his nation, as they continued to develop and evolve over time. As the sun broke across the horizon, casting long shadows on the landscape below, Washington and Snow stood side by side on the balcony, observing as their respective worlds awoke from their repose. They had only just met, yet already they realized that there was much they could learn from each other, about resilience, courage, and the importance of standing up for one's beliefs, even when faced with insurmountable odds. As dawn broke, Washington and Snow forged an alliance, a pledge to exchange their wisdom and experiences, draw strength from each other's virtues and vices, and above all, work towards harmony and prosperity in both realms. With the sun rising as their testament, they shook hands again, solidifying their newly formed camaraderie. Washington knew this was just the start of a long-standing partnership between two leaders who hailed from disparate backgrounds, but shared one common goal: to fashion a better tomorrow for all those who resided in their domains. Chapter 2. Foundations of Freedom. Chapter 3. Leadership under Pressure.